Hi, everyone. Today we're with Evelyn Escamilla. Again, this is a series of interviews we're conducting with former A&M-San Antonio psychology students who are out in the field. So Evelyn graduated from A&M-San Antonio in fall 2019. Currently, she works as a registered behavioral therapist with a company in their early intervention program. So she works with kids and I guess you call them clients with autism. So just a friendly reminder, these are student-generated questions. We've kind of grouped them into certain categories like your motivation, the job search process, your future goals and things like that. So my questions are on a different screen, so if I look off to the side, I'm not paying attention to you. I'm just trying to plan for the next question. Okay. So let's start with a little bit of your background. Just kind of tell us who you are, how you kind of got to where you are today.
Hello, everyone. Nice to meet y'all. Zoom, through Zoom, but I hope y'all like my hair. I do have a little celebration later tonight, so sorry. So like Dr. Wynn said, I graduated last fall from A&M-San Antonio with my major in psychology. I took 3-4 classes with Dr. Wynn. I was in his research lab. We got to do a lot of fun stuff as a team. So when Dr. Wynn told me about this opportunity, I was like, absolutely, like I would like to be part of it. My plan has always been to be a school counselor for either elementary or high school. So I always knew that I wanted to work with kids, or that I wanted to be in that kind of environment. Mm-hmm. To be completely honest, I never thought of like special education. That was didn't really cross my mind. And I remember a few weeks before graduation, I went to Dr. Wynn's office just to talk about a project or something. And I was like, I don't know if you remember Dr. Wynn. Mm-hmm. He asked me, he's like, so what are your plans? What are you doing after graduation? And I was like, well, I don't know.
Right.
I was like, well, these are my plans. And I don't know if a lot of y'all are going through that path, like for counseling. The school counseling requires 2 to 3 years of teaching first. And that was just something that it's not really what I wanted to do, but it's like a requirement. Like there's no way to do it like around it. So Dr. Wynn was like, well, maybe, how's your resume? So how I started, I put my resume on Indeed, which is kind of like what I've been hearing about, that people get, jobs. Maybe it's a good website to start off right after college. And I did, and I told myself that I was going to give myself a whole month after graduation to just kind of relax and then start looking for jobs. And in February, it's when I actually started to look a little more into it.
Okay.
Dr. Wynn was very nice. We emailed back and forth. I was just asking for feedback about my resume. I worked in the restaurant industry for 10 plus years, so I had no experience doing anything else or anything different. So I was like, I know how to take care of people, but help me how to rephrase it in a professional way. So that's how I started on Indeed. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. You kind of create your own profile, upload your resume, and as you start doing the research or doing the search for jobs, that's kind of like the jobs that they sent you that kind of fit you. So that's kind of how I started. And I was getting a lot of like, kind of like, it was case worker positions for different places, foster care, senior living, like that. And then I was just kind of getting random stuff here and there, but just be patient. That's how I started. Indeed, that's
Okay.
a good way to start.
Excellent, excellent. So I think we'll touch on the job search a little bit more. Um, so I think generally speaking, so students always like to hear, people's motivation, and you touched on that when you said, you always wanted to be a school counselor, but now you're in this field. Um, so how do you feel about that change, and do you feel like this is something that you feel passionate about?
So it was very weird because I knew I wanted to work with kids, um, but when this opportunity arrived, I was nervous because I've never worked with kids. Period. One, two, on the spectrum, um, but I really enjoy what I do. I
Mhm.
really like it. I catch myself talking about my clients all the time.
Yeah.
uh, I and I look forward going to work, and it's
Yeah.
a learning process every day. We have about 17 clients total,
Hmm.
um, and I mean each one has their own little personality, their own behavior, their own challenging behaviors.
Hmm.
Um, but I have been thinking about maybe going that route.
Yeah.
um, BCBA or BCABA, or the
Hmm.
special ed.
Can you pause and tell us what the BCA and BCA?
Yes, and all the BCs and A's.
Yes. Yeah.
So BCBA is our main psychologist at our center, which is a behavioral. I'm sorry, board certified behavior analysis.
Okay.
So that's the main person or main guy or gal at our center. The place I work at, we usually have two. I believe the ratio is 1 per 8 kids.
Okay.
They're the people that put the programs together. They're the people that are doing supervisions, kind of just monitoring the kids, see where they need to improve, what other programs they need to either take off their program because they have master it, or put a new intervention into their programs. They supervise them once a week, because some of the kids are they move on fast and they need to keep on going. Like you mentioned, we do early intervention, so our ages are from a year old to 7.
Wow.
We have little ones, 2-year olds, and then yesterday there was one of the clients' 7th birthday.
Wow.
So we prepare them to school for
Mm.
school. Sorry. Oh, before that, then BCABA is Board Certified Assistant Behavior Analysis. So
Okay.
that's the one underneath the BCBA, but it's like an assistant, and they do a lot of work too. It's they do a lot more of note taking, and more of like kind of like the BCBA goes there when it's like ready to be just supervised.
Mm.
BCABA is the one that puts it together, tells the RBT, hey, blah 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 is coming to do the supervision. I need you to run these 3 targets within a certain amount of time. Do 2 targets, reinforce it. Kind of like prepares us RBTs and the BCBA to just kind of come and watch, because I mean these people are super busy,
Yeah.
and they're the ones I know the kids the most too, because they get to watch them all the time. And sometimes they'll just go in and be like, oh, I want to work with the kid, because they want to see how they react from their perspective too.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Okay, so let's. I think you touched on some of this, but let's get into kind of the preparation for this job. So you've never worked with kids. Um, So do you have did you have any previous experience in the field at all? And I think sometimes students are really concerned about their own lack of experience. Many of them work in restaurants or retail. So yeah, tell us about your experience.
So no, I had no experience, no experience working like in a professional setting with kids. No, I
Mhm.
mean my siblings, or age difference is a big gap. So that's the most I got. My friends' kids, but I don't. That was one of the things that kind of scared me, that I had no previous um, experience about this job and other jobs too. I know it's hard straight out of college. With the bachelor's in psychology, it's kind of hard to get like something kind of related to what you want to do
Mhm.
as like your major goal. But don't give up. Keep on searching, keep on looking. Some of this like case manager positions were like entry level too. It's just kind of more what you're leaning towards.
Yep.
This job really catch my attention because it's an entry level.
Mhm.
So the company I work for, it's Behavioral Innovations.
Mhm.
There are a few centers across San Antonio. I work at the one in Universal City,
Okay.
which is not that of a drive, really. It's like a 20-minute drive from me. And they are super nice. They offered an entry level position, like I said,
Mhm.
and it was a 40-hour training program.
Okay.
Uh, and it was half classroom, half hands on, which it was a great way to learn because I have heard from or read from other like centers
Mhm.
that they just it was like a classroom setting. And then when you were ready, they would just throw you with the kid and then good luck. So
Right.
this company, I am very thankful that it crossed my path, because it was 4 hours of the day, classroom or going with the kids, which it was nice because I got to know the kids too. And they
Mhm.
kind of saw us. It was a class of four of us. Four of us got hired at the same time.
Oh, fun.
So yeah, so the clients wouldn't be like, who's this stranger, trying to work with me.
Mm.
Um, so when you get hired, you finish the training, you are classified as an ABA therapist, applied behavioral analysis therapist, and you're able to work. This is how my center does it.
Mhm.
You're only allowed to work with the certain kids
Mhm.
because depending on their insurance.
Mhm.
So some healthcare insurance required to be completely certified, which is the RBT position, and others they just required the minimum training for it. So our team really encouraged you to take the exam,
Mhm.
um, which you can take it whenever you want to. I took 2 months. It took me 2 months to take it, not because I was studying so hard every day, all day, but because my boss was like, a lot of the questions in the exam, it's like scenario based, like what would you do if client this and that. So I wanted to get the experience from it first,
Mm.
and then know kind of the answer. It was not very like terms and like, I don't know. It was very scenario based.
Okay.
So I took the exam. I actually just took the exam like a month ago.
Oh,
So yeah, so I took the exam, passed the exam, and then now I'm allowed to work with more kids.
excellent. Excellent.
Is that did
Yeah.
that answer your question? Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so you had no experience. Can you tell us how you handled that at the interview? So if I can go back, so you posted some information on Indeed, posted your resume, and then they kind of suggested jobs that they think you would be a good fit for. So one came up this position came up, and you applied to it, right? Um,
Yes.
and then they called you in for an interview. Did they say, "Hey, you have no experience with kids. Can you, did that come up, or
Uh,
how did they?"
so I do want to touch on this. Don't feel discouraged if you don't get like a job offer right away.
Yeah.
I actually started like looking in February.
Mm.
Also, the pandemic kind of got in the way.
Yeah.
So I'm very thankful that I was able to get a job in the middle of a pandemic. I actually got my first interview late June,
Hmm.
and I started my job July 13th.
Wow. Okay.
So it was like a good 4 or 5 months of
Mm.
getting job offers and then not getting them, not even getting the interview. So don't stress about it.
Right. Right.
It would happen, and it's gonna happen. But I mean, I had two previous job offers for, I think it was called health provider or healthcare provider. I like a big brother, big sister kind of association.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, the schedule was just not. It was kind of not what I was looking for either.
Hmm.
Um, and it seemed that it was kind of like a kid right after high school job could get.
Okay. Okay.
And I don't want to sound like, you know, but I was like, I have an education, so
Right. Right.
I I want to get. I know there's something more out there. So that's the first thing, guys. Don't keep looking. It's really, and keep putting. I mean, I was applying like 8 jobs per week.
Good
Like
for you. Yeah.
it was not kind of that was more of a personal goal of mine that I said. But Dr. Wing, you know that I had been working for restaurants for years, and my body is not working the way it used to work. Everything hurts, and
Oh.
it's just tiring. And I told myself that it was kind of like a personal goal. So don't keep putting on applications, fill them
Okay.
out. They do take time, but something good will come up. So when I finally got this interview, when they called me for an interview, it was an interview over the phone, and it was more of a get to know you kind of interview. They asked about my school background, my degree background, my job experience, and that's I said it. I was like, hey, I don't, because they did ask if I have ever worked with kids in the spectrum, and I was like, no, honestly, I have not, but I'm willing to learn. It's something that I know when I work with kids, and I honestly just graduated few months ago. I'm a psychology major, and they told me that that's one of the things that caught their eye.
Mm.
That psychology major it's ABA, so it has a lot to do with psychology.
Yeah.
Um, my resume about being in your lab and doing kind of helping writing grants, because we do, that's just another subject, but we do have to write a report every day.
Oh.
It
Okay.
has to be in a certain like template kind of, you have to do it a certain way.
Yeah.
um so that's kind of what they were like, we're interested, and they call me in for an interview in person, and then they asked me again, and I was like, no, I don't, but
Right.
I'm willing to learn. And I think that if you show enough like motivation, and if you really show that you cared and this is something that you want to do,
Yeah.
you can reflect that, people will believe you.
Yeah.
And when I was looking into their website before going to the interview, just the stuff that they focus on, which is like family oriented, good community, all this stuff, it was just something that I knew I was a good fit for,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that they were a good fit for me too. So I read the background of where you're going to go get interviewed.
Absolutely. That's good advice.
Read what they're about, read what they do, how, I mean, you don't have to know everything, but definitely give it a little read, and mention that in your interview, and they will be like, oh,
Oh
okay.
yeah, you actually did some research on us.
Exactly. Show that you care. Show that you want that job.
That's excellent. Great advice. Okay, so can you tell me a little bit about your day to day? So what's your schedule like? Um, you know, and I think you touched on a little bit about your training, and whether they paid for that, or can you just touch on that? Your day to day and a little bit about your training.
Yeah, of course. So training was 40 hours training. Um, so the company I work for, they Behavior Innovations. They paid for your training.
Mm-hmm.
They paid for my training. They paid for my CPR certification.
Mm-hmm.
They paid for my RBT application.
Mm-hmm.
So they take care of you, starting off. Um, they pretty much all you have, all I have to pay for was the RBT exam, which was not pricey at all.
Mm-hmm.
And they do, my company does a race after you pass your RBT exam.
Okay.
So I don't know how other companies do it, how their centers kind of handle that. I do know that there are some centers that only hire RBTs.
Mm-hmm.
So that's why I said that my center was awesome, because it was entry level. So great benefits, holidays off. Dr. Wynn, I was so excited. I was like, what do you mean? I don't have to work like Christmas Eve? And yes, for the 4th of July. Okay, perfect. So
Right.
that was something that even when we were trying to put this interview together, you were like, that's so crazy. You work Monday through Friday now. I was like, I know.
I know, because
So
you're going into work, when people are finishing, and you're staying there till 1 or 2, in the morning. So
my
yeah,
sleeping schedule is all over.
yeah,
So my day to day, we do it's 8 to 5,
okay,
4:45. By 5, the center is there are no more kids. The first kid gets dropped off at 8 in the morning, and or sometimes it's that same kid, sometimes the other kids, but our last kid leaves at 4:30.
okay,
So we go in 30 minutes before our appointment, and we leave 30 minutes after our appointment. We usually get 2 clients per day,
okay.
but we do have some clients that are there for a one shift, that we call it one shift, because kids that are there from beginning to end have 2 shifts, so they get 2 therapists,
Okay,
one in the morning, one for the afternoon shift.
good.
So we do have a transition at 12:30. But we also have some kids that are there for 8 to 2:30,
Mm-hmm.
others from 10:30 to 4:30, others from 12 to 4:30. So it just kind of depends. For the most part, I do at least 4 kids. I'm sorry, at least 4 days, 8 to 4:30, and
Mm-hmm.
then I do have one day when I only have a kid from 8:30 to 2:30.
Okay,
So, um, but you go in 30 minutes early, well, 30 minutes before your appointment starts, and just kind of get ready, get your stimuli cards ready, your reinforcers ready. So my center looks like a school, kind
mm-hmm.
of like a school setting. We have classrooms, we have a desk, a round table with 2 chairs, lots of toys. We have a playroom, a kitchen outside. So you kind of just set up your area. Have in hand what do you know your client. You also, my centered, you work with 3 kids per week, so you
Mm-hmm.
get to know your clients, and you get to run prefer assessments, kind of like what they like, what they're into. Because one day they're into Frozen, but the other day they're into Power Rangers. So you
Right.
have to kind of run a test. So the 30 minutes before is to kind of get ready, get situated. And the 30 minutes after the client leaves, it's to write your report.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Write your
we
note.
have so we have a template. We have a checklist that where we report. Part of it is checklist. You check behaviors. You check if they did show a behavior, how it was managed, and what program we use to target or to reduce the behavior. We collect data. Throughout the whole session, we have our own tablets with our own app, and then that's where we collect our data.
Okay.
And at the end of the session, we graph all that data.
Okay.
And then we have a session where we write about what the therapist and the client worked on or what they didn't get to work on. And then we have a planning section where it's kind of you just give advice to the following therapist, either that afternoon or the following day. Be like, hey, blah, 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 did not have a good time at circle time because this trigger him or does not do this to make it better. It sounds like a lot, but it takes maybe 15-20 minutes.
Okay.
It's not a lot. And then you just kind of clean up and you're good to go.
Wow. All right. So you're with these kids for a school semester at a time, or just how do they come in and out of the center?
So we have kids. So we're preparing kids. So our youngest kids, they are the kids that stay with us the longest, just because it's such an early intervention.
Yeah.
And the kids that we get, or 2-year-olds, they come with no vocalization at all. I mean, they don't, no sounds. Oh, I'm sorry, no echoics, just sounds.
Okay.
Kind of like woo, or when they're excited, or when they cry, kind of sounds.
Yeah.
So they do stay with us the longest, and it's kind of like when the parents want to stop it. Right now we have a 5-year-old kid that was with us while I was in there, but it was with the center since he was 2, and he came in with no, vocal skills, nothing. He can talk, he can actually communicate with you, and he can carry a conversation in his own way, but he can't communicate enough. So we have kids that stay with us since they're little. We have others that are only there for a few months. We also have a lot of military kids.
Oh, interesting.
Yes. So they sometimes just gotta leave and continue their treatment somewhere else.
Yeah.
We don't really have like a beginning and ending. It's just kind of how we see progression of the clients.
Yeah.
And how the BCBA and the parents have the plan for the client.
Right. Interesting. Very cool. All right, so let's get back to your job. How do you? And I'm sorry, this question is kind of direct, but do you feel like you're making enough money, and do you feel like you're making enough money that justifies you getting a bachelor degree?
I think that it's a really good starting pay
Mm-hmm.
for just being straight out of college. 1, no experience. 2, and legit enjoying what I'm doing. I think it's a good pay. Other jobs that I was looking into or that I actually interviewed for, the pay was just very minimum, and I didn't, like I said, I don't want to sound picky or but it was kind of like, well, I do have a degree and I did pay for this education, and I didn't want to settle for that. So the pay is really not bad. I'm doing just fine with paying my bills, if that answer is better. I think it's a really good starting job a starting pay job,
Yeah.
to like right out of college. Um, I think
Yeah.
I'm very content. I'm very happy with it.
Yeah, because I think sometimes students would say like, hey, I'm a bartender, right? And or I work at a restaurant where I tend to do okay, and I'm not sure if I want to leave that for something else, So I
It is
will.
hard. I also think you have to go in with the mentality that I went in with the mentality of, okay, I'm not going to make as much as I was making serving or bartending, but I have to start somewhere to
Mhm.
lead me to where I want to be. So I stayed, Dr. Wynn, with a cheesecake for a few weekends just to kind of get me even,
Mhm.
but it was just getting too much, and it, I'm I'm okay with just my pay at Behavioral Innovations. So I think going with the mentality of sacrificing a little bit,
Mhm.
if you are willing to maybe cut a little tight on money, I think it pays off. But I was very surprised by the pay that they offer for a entry level
Yeah,
therapist.
that's great.
And we got that, and I got that raise after
Right.
the RBT exam, so that was nice.
So what are your future plans, right? So you talked about, it sounded to me, and I'm, this is not my field, so it sounds like you start at being uncertified, and then you can become an RBT, and
Mhm.
then if you wanted to, you can get that BCABA,
ABA. Hmm.
right? And
Yep.
then if you wanted still, you could do the full-on ABA, right? Or
Correct. Yes.
BC,
BCBA. Hmm.
BCBA.
I
Okay.
know it's a lot of, yeah.
So can you talk to me about your future plans and whether or not you're interested in pursuing these next steps?
I I'm still debating,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm very interested in this field. I would definitely like to work with them long for a good amount of time. But I am interested. I need to do a little more research about it
Yeah.
because it's kind of going another direction from where I was going,
Right.
but it's still working with kids. Um, and these kids are just amazing. So um, it's something that I have been considering.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I just haven't had the time to actually look into it. I
Mm-hmm.
do know that my center or my company helps you with applications for BCAVA programs.
Mm-hmm.
And there are other programs that they even help you do your hours when you need the BCBA.
That's great.
So it's amazing. It's like I said, I'm so blessed and grateful that I ran into this company because they do want you to move on and get, you know, move on, get better, and they help you in a lot of ways. I mean, just by paying all that for your training, and then they also offer programs that I don't want to say what they're about because I don't know much, but I do know that one of our other RBTs is doing her BCBA program through Behavioral Innovations.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I knew that they do offered some kind of grants too
Okay.
to help you pay for your program, your master's. Um, but I'm still looking more into it.
Right.
Um, I still don't want to teach, Dr. Wynn. That hasn't changed. Uh,
Right.
that hasn't changed. But I got to figure out within. I'm very happy right now, and I really, really, really enjoy my job.
Yeah.
So I want to give it a good year to,
Yeah.
test it out
Yeah.
because
Absolutely.
so that's where that's at.
Good. And of course, there's there's a honeymoon phase too to everything. So you try out, and for students who don't know, it's a very challenging job, right? Uh, some of these students are nonverbal, and so you're trying to get them to display certain behaviors, and sometimes things can get pretty intense. Kids will kick or punch or you know
Yeah, I mean, you gotta. I was gonna bring the book next to me, but it's over there, and I'm looking at it. I did read a book for it. How to Parent Autistic Kids, I think it was called.
Okay.
I
Okay.
can email it to you. So
Yeah.
if you just want to add it to your notes. I did do some reading before going into this field, and honestly, I finished reading this book probably a little before I took my RBT exam.
Okay.
Because, like you said, there are days these kids are non-vocal. They want to express themselves and they can't. So there's a lot of behavior issues, challenging behaviors, a lot of crying, a lot of sometimes aggression towards others, to themselves,
Mm,
entering, crying, screaming, yelling. For this position, you do have to work under like loud noises. If you don't like loud noises, this is not the place to be.
yeah.
Um, and sometimes you just get home and you need like a good 30 minutes to just be quiet.
Yeah.
So there's a lot, just kind of get yourself prepared for it. Like if you guys want to think about, RBT positions, if this is what I've been talking about is something that interests you, just be aware that it's a challenging job, but you're also helping a lot someone else that, and they need the help, and it's great to see them progress too.
Yeah.
I've only been there for a few months, but I have seen already changes in these kids,
That's
and you're
great.
like, and it pays off if you like
Yeah.
kids. It pays off at the end.
Yeah.
It's all worth it. It really is.
That's awesome. That's wonderful. So before I let you go, and again, I can't thank you enough for giving up your time today. Um, what are some, looking back at your undergraduate education, what are some things that you think kind of stand out to you in terms of preparing you to be successful afterwards in the real world, per se?
Oh my goodness, your lab. I
Okay.
mean, I think that being active in your school, be active in your department, your educational department, the psychology department.
Hmm.
I think it helped me. I mean, incredibly. My writing skills. I mean, the lab, when we had to write the grants, or when we had to write, the abstracts to submit them for the symposium, or for the all the oh my goodness,
Swapwa.
swap. I was like Southwestern.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. No.
was trying
No.
to say it in my head. All that, I think it helped. Just not be, don't be shy.
Hmm.
Don't be like, I can't do it, or don't be like, oh, that's not for me, or oh, I have to stay at school for extra hours, because I think that really helped me.
Yeah.
I think your uh, share lab really helped me out a lot.
Yeah.
Um, and be cool, be close to your professors, because they do help out a lot. And they give you good advice. I mean, they know, they've been there. So don't get yourself in a little shell and just be to yourself and be like, oh, I can do this, or I can Google this, or um, but if you do have the opportunity or the semester to join one of the labs at Tamusa, like, do it.
Yeah.
Because like I said, that report that I have to write at the end of the of my day, it's just writing in a different way. You're just not gonna write like blah blah blah. I had such a great day today. We No, like, you have to use more of a technical writing.
Right.
That's the word I was looking for. Technical writing, and you have to know your field and the words to use, and I think that's what helped me the most.
Yeah.
Be active in my school.
Yeah, yeah. So being active. So you were in my research lab, and we had a great time together, and
Mhm.
we went to New Mexico to present research and all that stuff. So in addition to the lab, you did the psych club, right?
I did the psych club. So I was at Temusa for 2 years, and I was member of the psychology club all 4 semesters, but I was an officer the last semester.
Okay.
Um, that's when I wanted to be a little more involved.
Mhm.
So I was part of the psychology club. I was the secretary.
Okay.
And that was a lot of fun too. And that's, I mean, you are keeping yourself busy, and you're going to all those presentations that they have. I mean, I know they're a little different now with COVID and stuff, and I still follow them on Instagram, and I know they do a lot of their presentations through Zoom, and
Mhm.
I'm sure all the labs are they have to be through from home, so weird times, but there's always a little way to be involved. I did the honor society too. I think that's all I was in.
Mhm.
Yeah. Um, but I was, yeah, sure, it was a lot of fun. We started together.
Yeah, yeah.
That
That
was fun.
was a great time. I'm thinking back to well, in this conversation so far, you're kind of mentioning the extracurriculars, right? And sometimes I think students feel like if I go to class, I do one right class, I can just stay in my bubble, things will be fine. Um, However, in this job, do you feel like there are any classes or anything like that, or that you can look back to help you in your current field?
Oh, learning.
Yeah,
Learning.
yeah,
Learning was definitely like a big plus. Um, because just behavior, applied behavior, that's what I I enjoy that class at the moment, but now I'm like, oh, it clicks. Or like when I'm actually like doing therapy in the middle of it, I'm like, oh, that sounds familiar.
right.
I'm like, Professor Lolata comes into my head. I was like, oh yeah, she did say that.
That's awesome.
Personality too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, sometimes a little bit. Just kind
Yeah.
of like you're looking at the kids, or you're like, okay,
Mhm.
I see.
Yeah.
Which is that's why I said I wanted to take this opportunity of this job, because it's probably one of the closest jobs that I can get right now with the degree, close to my degree. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
So
Okay.
learning.
Yeah, learning, I mean, that makes a whole lot of sense. That's a lot of reinforcements and consequences and all that stuff. So before I let you go, and this wasn't included in the list of questions, so um, top three sort of advice things that you would tell maybe a current student at A&M San Antonio, knowing, looking back to your years and being where you are now. What are some things that the top three things that you would tell them?
Like while they're in school right now, or like after graduation?
Like right now, like they're still in school. Like if you actually, maybe a better way is if you could go back and tell yourself three things when you were a student, what would you tell yourself while you were still in school?
Don't be scared to ask for help. Don't be scared to go to your professor's office. Like search, like go for help.
Yeah.
Like you got a question, if you don't get it, you don't understand it, like go and ask. Um, get yourself something that I kind of wasn't hard on myself enough, was my GPA.
Hmm.
It's not terrible, but I wanted to do better. Because I started off a little rocky.
Yeah.
Just focus on your studies. I mean, if this is the path you want to go on, of course you want to do good, and of course if you want to further your education with the master's program, you want your GPA to reflect good. And don't, like I said, like, do extracurricular activities. Don't do too many, or ones that you shouldn't be doing if it's too much on your plate.
Yeah.
And just like stay true to yourself. Like, do what you really want to do, or follow your own advice. Like, if it's a good idea, if this is what it's going for, but also welcome other people's advice. Don't go just like a horse on your own little way. I think that's what I would tell myself. It should have been a little harder, but I made it.
Hey, I hear you, but that's why we want to pass our advice to other folks, because we can't go back and kind of do it.
I think that I was a little better probably like my last year about going to my professor's office and built some kind of relationship with them, because they're your mentors. They're the people that can help you in your future, and that I can say this will help you. If they're in their hands and they're able to do it, they will do it. And don't be afraid. Like, you guys are there for us. And I mean, I had a great experience with you and 2 other professors from Tumusa that I wanted to build a relationship with them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I can't emphasize that point enough. Like, we we met in class, but then we did research together, and when you start looking for jobs, we communicated. It wasn't like you graduated and see ya. I think sometimes.
No, and when I got the job, I like messaged you. I was like, that's nice. And like, it's just something nice to have, and it's a good relationship to keep for a while.
Yeah, for forever, maybe. I don't know.
Absolutely.
Anyways, again, I can't thank you enough for taking your time to kind of offer your advice and to share with us your experience. I think I think a lot of students are going to benefit from your insights, and I think many of them are sort of in your position of being scared, worrying about not having experience, and being able to find a meaningful job that will lead to a very meaningful career and all that stuff. So we really appreciate you taking the time. And
thank you for thinking of me, and I'm here.
Yeah. And if you don't mind, if students ask, can I pass along your email address?
Please. I was just gonna say that. Please. You have it, right? You put them on there. Yeah, please pass it along. If you have questions, please don't. And that's my personal email. Don't be afraid to ask, or if you want to know a little more about what I do or any other questions, just type in the email who you are and let me know, and I'll gladly respond. But for real, guys, don't give up on Indeed. Do not. Keep on. If you have to do 8 applications per week, do it.
Yeah, that's great advice. Excellent. Okay. All right, Evelyn. Enjoy your Saturday. Enjoy your party. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye.